So Digby, how did you ask her to marry you?
I didn't.
What happened?
Well, I just talked to her about what she liked and didn't like, and I kept saying to her different things about what if a couple did this and a couple did that, and just kind of fell into it. But I was too scared to ask her at first.
So when did you realize you were engaged? How'd that happen, Mom?
Probably when we decided that this was a possibility and maybe we should get an engagement ring.
So, so you picked out a ring.
No, we did.
We picked it out together, and
Good.
anyway, the church had taught me, I've been in church long enough by then to know you have to marry up.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd better cinch this one.
Good. So tell me about the ceremony.
The ceremony was in Ellensburg, and it was performed by Orrin Mann, who is Terry Mann's uncle, great uncle, or something like that.
Interesting.
And so our two families were not quite getting along, and so it was a pretty goofy time, but it was beautiful.
Good. So why weren't the families getting along, Digby?
You had to know my family.
Were there some colorful characters there?
Boy, I have two brothers, we're fine, but the sisters, they just,
And your mother.
my mother, you know, they chew out a cabbage until it was raw. Couldn't leave things alone.
So they didn't warm up to Bonnie right away.
I would say they didn't warm up to anybody. They,
Especially to my mother.
Oh,
That's
so
where
the
the
two
fight-
moms didn't get along.
oh
Right.
no.
Did they ever reconcile after you guys got married, or?
They just stood back and glared at each other, but that was it. And then they didn't see each other very often, and that was even better.
So did you have a honeymoon?
Yes.
Where'd you go, Bonnie?
We went to Victoria, BC.
Oh, nice.
We had we got married on a Saturday, and I think he had to go to work on Tuesday. So this was pretty quick.
I'd been a free ranger, and I had to get a regular job.
So what was your work before getting married?
I was cleaning brush, and I was in the Air Force. I did a lot of things. I was trying to get myself together, I guess. And the end result was that that did happen, and I got a regular job at the post office.
Okay.
Yeah, so I lasted there about a year until Bonnie's dad called me up and said, "Why don't you come an electrician?" And he had an electrical outfit, so I said, "Sure, why not?"
So what was it like in those days when he was learning to be an electrician, Bonnie?
That was kind of interesting because my dad had been an electrician for a lot of years, and so he was teaching Digby just right from the beginning of everything. And then we'd only been married about 4 years, and my dad had a bad heart attack, and then his memory was just a little bit wonky. And so by then, Digby had figured things out and ended up taking over my dad's business. So he's a quick learner.
How long did you do that?
Oh, probably, what, 15 years?
Those were good years.
Hard.
So children are coming now.
Yeah.
But why were the years hard, Bonnie?
Because we're in a small town and there's no big money anywhere. You had to really work hard for every nickel you made.
Do you remember what you made in a year back then, or in a month?
Well, it was on and off. You have to remember that was when we had our big recession in the 70s. And the dollar went, I mean, the interest went from about 6% all the way up to 20. So things, you know, in the construction trade kind of stopped. What saved us is that we were in a small town where everybody, about 85% of people owned their own homes, and they're all getting ready to retire. So when we sold the homes, they got something like 12 or 14%.
Well, you've jumped ahead into when we became real estate
Oh, yeah.
brokers.
I did jump ahead. We decided to get out of the electrical business, which at that time was really tough. And we went into the real estate business, was really tough, but we knew a few things.
And you did that together.
Yes.
What was that like, working together?
Oh, we loved it. 24 hours a day, which some people say they can't be done. I think it's the most wonderful thing ever.
Good.
It was just great.
And how long did you do this real estate business?
Oh, close to 20 years.
Wow. And in what cities did you do it?
In Cleveland.
This
Just in Cleo.
Kittitas County.
And was Bonnie flying at that time?
Yes.
No, I wasn't.
You were
No, because my dad
oh,
died.
that's right. You did just when we were electrical.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because my dad, when he had his heart attack in '70, we had to sell the airplane so he could have open heart surgery. So that was the end of my flying too.
Oh, interesting. So when did the first child come along, and who was that?
Keno.
And what was that like? Bonnie?
Well, it was an experience, I'll tell you, because it took him 32 hours of labor before he was ready to be born. And when he was born, he was probably the biggest baby on record in Kittitas County for the year, 10 pounds, 10 ounces.
And what kind of child was he like, Digby, growing up?
Say it again, please.
What kind of child was Keno like growing up?
He was a great kid. I never had to say much to him. He just was a thinker, smart from the word go, and he seemed to assess everything pretty well. And the only time I had to discipline him one time is I threw him to the floor, and I threatened him. I would never have touched him, but I threatened him because he was conning his sisters. He'd say, "Come on, help me clean my room, and I'll help you clean yours." And he pulled this Tom Sawyer trick time and time again, and I finally threw him to the floor and said, "Now, that's got to stop. You make a promise, you better keep it." And his eyes were as big as saucers, but because I never spoke to him like that. But that's the only time.
Is Keno more like Bonnie or more like you, Digby?
He's more like Bonnie. Bonnie's a detail person, and she doesn't miss very much. And I'm a little scattered when it comes to that. I've got more of the artist in me, I guess. But Keno is, he concentrates, and you could build a wall around him and he wouldn't notice.
Do you see that in Keno's children, that same trait?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He has a son on a mission that is finding out a lot of things, but his letters are amazing. The detail in them, you're almost there.
Mm-hmm.
Who was your second child?
Amy.
Tell me about Amy as a child and then growing up.
Well, Amy was an independent little girl, but all you had to ever do to get her to do things was just talk to her. And if she could understand what you wanted her to do or what she shouldn't do, then that was fine. But she had to understand. You couldn't just say no because I said so, because that doesn't work for anybody. And so she was the bigger of all three of our kids. She was 11 pounds, 3 ounces.
That's the wonderful thing about that girl, she'd never tell a lie.
Oh yeah, she wouldn't tell a lie no matter what, ever. No matter if she was going to be in trouble, she would not lie.
Any good stories about Amy growing up?
Yeah, I think you better step in the one with the car. She drove the car down to pick Keno.
Oh yeah, this is pretty good. When she was about, she must have been about 11 or 12, and Keno had a job at a little restaurant, 24-hour restaurant, and so he left his car at home, which was kind of a little puddle jumper, and the girls decided that they should wash the car and surprise him. So we were at work, and after they washed the car, they thought, oh, we don't want Keno to have to walk home from the restaurant after work at 10:30 at night and it's dark. We'll just take it to him. So Amy drove, and Miley, the sister, was with her and some other girl, and they didn't just drive 2 blocks to the restaurant. It took them 8 miles. They went up and down all the different streets and 8 miles, and they didn't tell us. And so nobody said a word. Keno didn't say a word. We found out about it a week later when they decided to tell us the truth. And I mean, we wanted to just laugh our heads off, you know. But we had to pretend to be pretty stern. Tell them what this could have happened.
No, I took a deep sigh of relief because I knew if it ever hit anybody, my name would be in the books, all right.
So, your third child?
Is Miley.
What was Miley like?
Miley was a fun little girl, but she was kind of sickly all the time. Maybe it's because whatever food you put in front of her, she'd say, I don't like it. And she didn't even taste it. You could put chocolate pudding in front of her and she'd say, I don't like it. And so she was like weighing 44 pounds when she was 9 years old. So we had to just keep working with her until finally she chose to do things on her own, and She's a fantastic girl, all grown up now with 4 kids of her own, of course.
She's one of those girls that the children love. She just step in on every child, and even now in her career, that's what she does. She looks after kids that are unmanageable, you know, in the standard form of life. But she takes it, and they like her a lot.
Mm.
So it's kept her. It's a dangerous job in some ways. You know, some of those kids are unpredictable.
Mm. Any more children?
That's it.
That's enough.
Grandchildren.
How did they get along, the 3 kids?
They did really well, because I told them that unless you were all best friends, how could we possibly let you have friends come over, or you go somewhere? How could you get along with them if you can't get along with your own siblings? So they learned how to be best friends, and to this day, they are all best friends.
Now you're seeing that wonderful logic that comes from my wife. She always had an answer for everything, and if she didn't, she'd get back to them. And why I mention that is that they have developed that trait in themselves. They have, would you say, refined life.
They're patient. And,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was the secret to raising obedient children?
You explain to them why you want to do things, and then they understand. But if you just, you have to be a shepherd rather than a sheep herder. You can't just push people around. But if you lead them and take them by example, then why would they do otherwise?
Well, Bonnie raised them alongside her knee, not across it. And they understood that, and there was lots of love. And over the years, we saw this trait where they mostly got it from their mother, is that they really cared for other people. And we were proud of that, because that's how we taught them.
Take a quick break. So go ahead and